Hey all, today we are kicking off my Satisfactory Megabase Project. I've got about 1500 hours in this game already, but this time I'm aiming for something truly massive, a 500 gigawatt map spanning factory. Fingers crossed. I'll be streaming the whole journey on Twitch too, but first let's see how it all begins. Okay, so every base regardless of scale needs to begin somewhere, and when looking at the map for this playthrough only one location came to mind. I've played here before, but not in several years, so let's revisit it and take a look around. The place we are referring to is right about where the three biomes of the Great Canyon, the Rocky Desert, and the Northern Forest all meet. It's technically within that forest and is on a sandy clearing between a couple of rock walls and bordering a cliff. There are 4 pure iron nodes right there, 2 pure copper nodes close by, along with 2 pure limestone nodes. Coal is not far away for when you get to that stage, and likewise with oil. The downsides are that the nearby sulfur is of low quality and other sources are quite far, and the quartz is also rather far. These are hardly insurmountable obstacles. The upsides, though, besides the close nodes, are the high vantage point, the easy access to 4 different biomes, but most of all it lends itself to a style of building that I intend to show you. But first we need to take on the early game hurdles, so we will begin by placing the hub right here alongside the cliff and near where we will begin to build the base. Right away we need to place down constructors to make our most basic of items: plate, rod, and concrete. With this comes the inevitable early game power problems too. Grab leaves, burn leaves, grab more leaves, watch the power fail as you grab more leaves, feed the burners, grab more leaves, you get the picture. I had to do this a ton, but thankfully for you after this short bit you won't have to see any more of it. Now to take the recently produced items and rush through a few tier 1 unlocks. The goal here is to slam through this as quickly as possible, as a lot of the early game is painfully slow and boring after 1500 hours. If you find this part of the game new and exciting, feel free to take your time, but that is not what we will be doing today. The most important of these early game unlocks by far is base building, and also happens to be the first one that we will get. Now this is very important. From the second I unlock base building, I stop building on the ground. Foundations are flat, they're clean, they're nice. Machines snap to them in clean lines and everything just gets better. You will thank me later. They do require a lot of concrete, however, so I will quickly run over to the other local limestone node and place a minor constructor pair so it can start accumulating for me. Temporary and simple items like this can be placed onto the ground, but seriously anything even semi-permanent needs to go onto foundations. Oh, and do remember that the snap to world grid function was recently added. If you hold control, you can align your foundations to a world grid, which will allow all foundations on that grid to align no matter where they are placed in the world. Don't be like me and forget about it only to realize your entire base is off sometime deep into phase 3. Now in the process of this, you will eventually come across another hurdle in the form of the local fauna come to say hello. With the Xenobasher only, it's difficult to kill even the smaller hogs, and this isn't one of those, so I'd recommend you do what I do here and play Toro. Dive out of the way at the last second and send him right over the cliff. Don't worry, you can't be cruel to imaginary animals. Be careful though, as bad timing can result in a rather arduous and lengthy corpse run. But if this happens to you, don't be like me. Reload and autosave. Okay, good. Now that the biologicals are managed, let's take a quick look at some more unlocks before we do anything else. The next few will need wire and/or cable, so now's a smart time to put down a minimal copper factory. Miner, foundry, constructor, storage. One will be fine for now as we will make cable by hand, but mostly because I forgot the other node is right around the corner from here. Okay, so now this is a really good foundation to start building something permanent. We can begin to build what will become our first structure. Another great thing about building in this location is that being near the cliff allows you to build right out into open space. So first thing I am going to do is build a platform extending right out from the plateau. I'm making this first building a simple 10 by 10 grid with a floor above and below and 16 meters separating them. And here it is completed. This will house our first power plant, it will get us into phase 2, and it will then be repurposed into our central storage facility. Not bad for 300 square meters. Now, with the shell of our first building complete, it's time to start putting something useful inside of it. And of course, that means power. Right now we're limping along on hand-fed leaf burners, and that's just not sustainable. So the plan here is to get a proper biomass processing chain going. The first step will be to set up a sorting line. We'll bring in all of the local organics, leaves, wood, and alien pork chops, and run them through a constructor for each type. These will chew everything down into biomass, which is already much more efficient than raw leaves. From there, we're going to take that biomass and refine it further into solid biofuel. This is the real prize, because solid biofuel burns longer and hotter, which means less babysitting and more time actually building. Now, of course, we need somewhere to burn it. I've laid out a simple array of 10 biomass burners tucked neatly into the lower floor of the building. Each one is wired into a single grid so they can balance the load. With 10 running, that's more than enough to keep early production humming without constant failures. The beauty of this setup is that it's almost fully automated. Once the sorting is done and the constructors are fed, the burners take care of themselves. No more leaf hunting every 5 minutes, no more panicked rush back when the miners go dark, just a clean line of machines doing their job. This little plant will carry us comfortably through the early game unlocks, and with room to expand if we ever need to drop in a few more burners. Eventually it'll be phased out when we move into coal, but for now this is the first real taste of automation in the base. With the biomass burners happily running, our attention turns to the next milestone, the space elevator. As you can see this structure from anywhere on the map, I like it to be right dead center in the base near the hub. So instead of scattering it off somewhere in the distance, we expanded our main building up one floor and placed it right on top. It fits nicely as a centerpiece, towering over the entire area and making sure we won't lose sight of it no matter where we wander. Now this first delivery is a pretty straightforward one. We're not going to be getting too deep into the math just yet, because honestly the unlock requirements at this stage are pretty light. Typically, I'll take the total parts required and divide it by 100 to get a rough per minute target. In this case, that math tells us about 0.5 smart plating per minute is what we need. That's not much at all, which means one assembler, fed steadily, will get us there. So instead of over-engineering, we're just doing what we can to keep the single line moving. To get there though, we need to build out both halves of the recipe chain. Reinforced iron plates calls for screws and regular plates into one assembler, while rotors needed rods and yet more screws into the other. Neither of these setups are final. They're small temporary production lines, but they're enough to keep one smart plating assembler ticking along. And with that single assembler cranking away, the elevator slowly fills its quota. Once the first batch is delivered, Phase 2 unlocks, and this is where the game really starts to expand. Steel production, pipelines, better logistics, all the tools we need to move from survival mode into real factory building. Now with Phase 2 unlocked, it's time to tackle one of the biggest early game milestones, coal power. Normally I'd stop here and immediately start laying out a supplies factory, but reliable energy is so important that we're going to put that project on hold and get coal online first. We're heading to the east side of the Rocky Desert, where local coal nodes sit right on the edge of a lake. It's a perfect spot. Water on one side, coal on the other. Everything we need in one place. The plan is simple. Build a dedicated coal plant that will carry us well into the mid-game. We're starting with 16 coal generators, all lined up and fed directly from the lake. Each one will eventually be overclocked, but when they're running at full capacity together, they'll generate a combined 3,000 megawatts of power. That's more than enough to replace our biomass setup and give us the headroom to expand aggressively. For now, we're not sharding them, just keeping the layout ready for when we do. The end result is a clean and scalable coal plant that can grow with us. It's not the prettiest structure yet, but it's functional, efficient, and gives us exactly what we need, the freedom to build without worrying about the lights going out. With coal finished, we'll take a step back and look at the map to see how far we've come. From the starter hub on the plateau to the space elevator rising above it, and now to a full-scale power plant running in the desert. It's already a strong start for a project that's only going to get bigger. And with that, we'll wrap up this episode and get ready to dive into the supplies factory next time. That's going to do it for this episode. If you've enjoyed watching the start of this Megabase journey, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe so you'll catch the next part as soon as it drops. And if you want to see all of this as it happens, I'm streaming the entire build live on Twitch under the same name, Atracraft. Come hang out, ask questions, or just watch the factory grow in real time. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.